once again to the podcast, The Melancholy Guy. Welcome to The Melancholy Guy, a companion podcast to my Tumblr blog, The Melancholy Guy, daring to be black, open, and free. The adventures of a divorced, open, polyamorous African American male. I am the Melancholy Guy, Calvin, or CPJR, if you know me. And definitely today, I believe that change I must or die I will. Hey, these are my notes that I start the podcast out with. And I don't know if you follow me on any type of social media, you probably know that I also record a video, and I just recognized that I could just paste these on the camera stand that's sitting right in front of me instead of holding them every time and trying to understand what I need to say for my little introduction. But basically, for anyone who listens, welcome back to the podcast, or thanks for listening again. And this podcast is a companion podcast to my blog, The Melancholy Guy, which is hosted at melancholyguy.tumblr.com. And I post these about 3 times a week, and they're only 15 minutes an episode right now because basically I'm using the free version of Spreaker. This is a test podcast for me. I'm testing out podcasting, seeing if I could do this, if I can produce podcasts in the future, which I will do. So I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about my blog. I'm excited to share about my journey into the world of non-monogamy, which started the blog picks up about 7 years ago. But I think it's been about an 8-year journey for me personally. But actually, it's been a lifetime journey to get this far and into accepting who I am and living the life that I want to lead. So if you've been listening or have listened to anything before this, you would know that I've been talking about my marriage, how my second marriage was pretty much, turning into my first marriage and basically being unhappy. But at this time, I had the force of hindsight to be able to talk about it, to talk about who I am. And at the same time, I was writing about it. So that's how the blog came about. And that's what I'm sharing now. And I'm sharing basically my origin story right now and what was going on in my head. I've already talked about how we both were able to have work spouses. We were able to have emotional intimacy with others. I've talked about how our conversation started about opening up our marriage. And I've talked about myself and how I personally wanted more emotional intimacy. That's what I was seeking out. But I think that I went back into my blog, which is what I do. I'm still working 7 years ago. I thought I was going to be able to go forward from that point, but I want to read another entry that I wrote 7 years ago, and it was actually about sexual intimacy. Now, sexual conversations are hard for some people to have, but in our community, the ethical non-monogamous community, the open, what I want to say, not openly sexual, but the sex positive community, in which I mostly communicate in or surround myself with now, we openly talk about sex all the time. Men, women, women, men. Everyone is able to just communicate. So if you have an issue with hearing about sex, if your family don't want to hear about it, just stop listening, stop reading my blog, because to me, it's a conversation that everyone should be able to have with each other. And if it makes you feel uncomfortable, figure out why and deal with that. Okay? So, let me read because I only have 15 minutes. Okay. So, and this is, I want to go back and say, I was saying that emotional intimacy was something that I was seeking, but there was a problem in our marriage. not a problem, but something is sexually that boredom. You have a person that you've been having sex with 4 years about this point, 3 years, 4 years about this point. Things get regular, and but I'll read the entry. It has no title, and I'll just read. Regular sex is just about the only real benefit of monogamy. And if you are not getting regular sex, what's the point? I have often gone through dry patches in my long term relationships, and I would wonder why I can't go after some new sex. I don't think I wanted to leave those long term relationships. I was just bored of having the same sex, and some new strange sex would have just spiced things up. What I actually think ends up happening is that the lack of regular sex builds up tension. There's that word again. If you've listened before, I use that word tension until there is such drama, and then the inevitable explosion. For me, explosion, good. Then comes the makeup sex, all new, hot and heavy. Now I don't have to think. Now I don't think this is a healthy way to live, as a cycle of tension, drama, and explosion usually have ended badly for me. So what could be wrong with just letting a little spice in your life? And like I said, this was 7 years ago. This was before opening up the relationship, and so sex was a thing. I definitely was also thinking about sex with other people, sexual intimacy. But for me, again, that doesn't come first. It's always emotional intimacy and then sexual intimacy. I think if you ever heard the word demisexual, that's what um, I think I lean more towards that, because I'm not someone who would normally just seek out someone because I just want to, just want to get with you. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be about a connection. It's going to be about some type of commonality. It's going to be some spark, some genuine spiritual thing that connects us, that drives me to want to sexually explore a relationship, or to have sexual intimacy with a woman, another person, a person. So those two were tied, and I think that also during that time there was a block. There was some reason that we weren't able to connect on that level. The emotional intimacy maybe was an issue, and there was a divide, and it also affected the sexual intimacy, and things were just building up. And basically, I can say for me, I think in my first marriage, I separated around about year 4, year 5. We separated for a year, then got back together for another. We were together for like 9 years, for another year. But there was a separation like at 5 years. Like we barely made it, probably 4 to 5 years. Explosion, separation, then got back together. And while I was separated, I had another girlfriend at that time. And I'm not sure. I had one main girlfriend. Not sure how many. So as you can see, like in my life, non-monogamy is just always has been there. And like I said, I'm just different. It's just natural for me. It doesn't seem strange to me to just be someone who doesn't desire monogamy. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't seem comfortable in monogamy. Doesn't think that monogamy is the way to go. Okay. So that's when I'm gonna end it right there with the blog. Just regular sex, man. It's a thing that there's a benefit to monogamy. And I always make a joke, like, you know what I'm saying? It's amazing what someone would do for regular sex. Like people will put up with all kind of bullshit in their relationships just to have regular sex. And I know that's a thing, because when you don't have it, and you're in that mindset that you need it, you'll do anything to get sex. And then once you in a relationship where sex is regular and you're being satiated, you'll want to keep that. You know what I'm saying? If it's good sex, let me put it like that. If it's something good, you'll want to keep it, and then you'll make compromises to keep it. So I guess the mindset to get is not just to want regular sex, want amazing sex. You know what I mean? That way you'll wait for it. You should always want amazing sex. I think. All right. So that's going to wrap it up for the vlog section. I want to go ahead and talk about my life right now, where I'm at. I wrote a blog entry about friends. I've had since my little implosion of a couple months ago. I've been spending time with a local friend and just hanging out with her, and it's been cool, man. She's really a friend. I'm really learning what friendship is again. Just being there for someone and allowing someone to be there for you. Being open, honest, and vulnerable. It's been an amazing time just to sit down with her and just talk and share where we are, because we are both going through something, and then being able just to listen and be there as I can and not feel like I need to do something. You know what I'm saying? Or I need to run away. You know what I mean? Let me just sit there and be there. Let me offer what I can and then just be there. So that's been great. And I wrote that blog entry. I think I said, do I have friends? Because I'm learning a lot about that now. And learning about my trust issues. I have some definite trust issues. So I think she's an entrepreneur also. She was asking me about what do I see this whole podcasting thing, and why do I think DMV podcasters studios needed, because there's recording studios, and I'm like, well, yeah, they're recording studios, but they're not podcasting studios. People, if you want a podcast now, you have to do what I'm doing, which is build your own studio from scratch. And I already had a head start on some equipment, but right now I'm just pricing my personal studio out, and I'm over $600 that I need to just complete this little studio, upgrading some things and buying some additional equipment, and just making it more presentable. Because like I said, I do record, and I'm up to 600. So, and I'm talking about my other studio that I want to build for larger podcast. This is my personal studio I'm talking about. That other one, I'm thinking, I haven't really priced it up. I'm thinking like over $2,000, maybe $1,500 for everything, just to get it to the space where I can at least record a show of at least 6 people, have it look presentable for camera, good sound, good equipment, premium equipment, to get a good put out good product. So I want to take that off people who want to put something out there. I want to build it so that if you have an idea, you can get in a studio, not cost you a lot of money, cost you something, but then you can put out a product. So that's it for tonight. And thanks for listening. Have a good evening, and I'll do my other things next time. But remember, always remember, to love and respect yourself first, and everything else will take care of itself. All right, peace. Namaste.